Won't you lock me in your heart?
Hello, everybody. I'm Will.
And I'm Kristen.
And this is So I'm Watching Pam and Tommy, Season 1, Episode 4, the...
Master Beta.
Beta. I mean, that opening scene was warranted, but whew,
yeah.
Him carrying out the lotion and the tissues.
Yeah.
You that's what you said.
Not for me.
So, what do you think?
I'm so sad. It's just making me sad.
I just hope these two crazy kids can make it.
They're not going to. But okay, so clearly Tommy Lee has anger issues and control issues and stuff. But what I want to say is that the way that Sebastian Stan and this show are portraying it is that he is so in love with her. And he is trying so hard to make this work. He's cooking her food. They're hanging out.
Multi-grain Mickey Mouse pancakes.
I mean, it's
extra nutrish for the peanut. It's
so cute. It's so nice. And he's so protective of her. And he's being nice in the hospital at the end in a way that again, I don't know if this is Tommy Lee, representative of his actual behavior.
I think it was. I think they were very...
very close?
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, that's lovely. I just
She does that.
Yeah.
She, I think, meets someone, falls madly in love.
Yeah.
And then...
yeah, she's been married 5 times.
And then it runs its course.
So it just hurts my feelings.
He gives me big, your experiences are not universal energy. We understand why he is the way that he is, but it's sort of there's a maturity level that is not engaged.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. But you can see sort of hints of it with the cooking and the very sincerely taking care of her at the hospital.
I think, again, I'm just going to take this as gospel because we're reviewing a show, so I don't know what is accurate and what's not. You have reason to believe there might be some timeline shenanigans.
I now don't remember the date or the year that was at the beginning.
I find it fascinating.
Yeah.
Contrasting the scandal of the sex tape with their actual
life,
pregnancy and desire to start a family.
Yeah.
Because sometimes married couples have sex for the purpose of conceiving a child, which is
sometimes
what they were doing.
Yeah. And
having it misrepresented the way that it was. And it's not subtle.
Yeah.
But it wasn't unsubtle. It kind of clobbered me over the head in a kind of way where I was like, oh my God, that's wild.
Well, that's why the end of the third episode made me so sad, is because they were so happy when she found out she was pregnant. And then it just cut to the wall of VCRs. One
of several things this made me think of, but it was Anne Hathaway had a wardrobe malfunction that paparazzi took a picture of, and fucking Matt Lauer asked her to comment on it while she was promoting Les Mis. And do you not remember this?
No, I mean, it's sort of ringing some bells, but not all the way.
And she was like, and she was like, I find I kind of fucking love Anne Hathaway. She has her moments.
She's pretty great.
But pro and con. But she was like, I find it regretful that we live in a society that commodifies the sexuality of unwilling participants.
Yeah.
And I mean,
she's really smart.
That's a boom. That is because
especially to Matt fucking Lauer.
Because that's quite literally what they're doing, is commodifying their sexuality. And I hate it so much because I wasn't going to bring this up, but I will. I had a conversation with the person recently talking about this show. And they were like, what does she care? She's a porn star. And I was like,
Pamela?
Yeah. And I was like, she posed nude
for Playboy.
In Playboy. I was like, Playboy's erotica. It's different. I was like, there's layers. I'm also weirdly positive on Playboy. It's its own complicated issue.
Sure.
But Playboy famously has standards, codes. I consider Playboy, like I said, erotica or fashion photography.
Also, I can't explain how much she signed a contract to appear in Playboy on purpose with her own permission.
Depending on who you are, you get final on your deal. You get final cut. You get say. Like I said, there's things that like Playboy doesn't do open spread eagle. They don't do like there's certain things.
Yeah.
And it's just
the whisper of a vagina.
There is the usage of the word hardcore in the advertising of this tape. And to be as efficient and delicate as possible, that applies here.
Sure.
In this video, she is correct that he is not in the video the same way that she is.
I guess sort of springboarding off of that, it goes to what you said while we were watching this episode, where it's like, not only is it humiliating for her as a woman to be filmed having sex on tape, but also there's like you said, there's like 8 minutes of sex, and there's like 52 minutes of what for me would be the most humiliating pillow talk you could ever imagine.
I made a joke where I was like, as I recall, there's about 10 minutes of actual sex because the website says 60 minutes of hardcore action. I was like, there's like 10 minutes of hardcore action, and then like 15 minutes of I love you so much, baby. Oh my god, I fucking love it. Like it's
could you imagine?
It's nauseating.
Imagine shelling out $60 for this tape, this VHS.
I mean,
tape.
at its time, it was. That's one thing that I'm enjoying about the show, and that is one of the reasons why I've gone ahead and
it's revolutionary.
That feeling, it's capturing so much of this time period because the internet was blowing open doors that we didn't know were there.
Yeah, and
it's just sort of like they kind of are like, oh, it's almost like it doesn't count. It's like they're getting away with something, and I just love I remember typing HTTP : / well beyond the point where they were like, you don't have to do that anymore.
Yeah.
I feel like I do.
I feel
like I need to make sure.
I still sometimes type the www before I realize I can just type google.com or whatever.
But no, it is very true. And this goes back to what we were saying about him like not understanding that his life experience is not universal. Is he's also in a world. For starters, he's more established than she is. And he's in a world that is not taboo in the way that,
indiscriminate sex is expected.
And it's like, she's a sex pot. Like, yes, she's it was a certain type. I mean, she posed in Playboy, blah, blah, blah. But as I mentioned, I mean, Baywatch was PG.
Yeah.
She existed in sort of a Jessica Rabbit-esque place.
I see.
That it's like, when he was like, what are you so upset about? It's not like...
Everyone hasn't seen it anyway.
Because again, there is a difference between... It's like the consent thing. It's like just because someone gave you consent once doesn't mean you have consent forever.
Just because I have, done a sex act in the past doesn't mean I'm obligated to do it to everyone who walks up and asks me. Mm-hmm. And the thing is there is such a difference. I mean, I would compare Baywatch and Playboy as like relative equals. All of them are leaving very little to the imagination. Those bathing suits. Those are... it's a PG show.
It's risque.
Fine, whatever. But those are relative equals.
It's titillation.
Watching Tommy Lee's penis go in her vagina is pornography that was taken without their consent, taken from them. And I think that's the thing that makes me the most angry is that they didn't really, in my opinion, based on how much footage there is of no sex, they were not intending to make a sex tape. This was like it
was all of it. I mean, it was the honeymoon
of their honeymoon.
Yeah, and
so that's the stuff that it's just so yucky. And like I said, this punishment does not fit the crime of like firing him and keeping his tools,
which we find out she had no idea about, and she was like, "Of course you did," and it's like. We have a couple things we need to touch on. I was going to say, I don't want to just have the same conversation over and over again for 8 weeks, but I do want to hit it again. I said this previously, that the hypocrisy of it all does drive me nuts.
Yeah.
That this was sold as some sort of like lurid, like caught with their hands in the cookie jar thing,
Right.
as if everybody didn't do this. It's
Sure,
like,
it's
I hate to break it to you, but your parents did this.
Yeah.
Your grandparents did this. Like,
it's sort of like the implication behind all the phrasing and the marketing of this tape and everything is like it almost feels like we're supposed to believe that they got caught
Mhm.
having sex in public
Mhm.
and someone else taped it. And it's like, no, this was for themselves. I do, though, kind of love that it took Tommy Lee like weeks to find out his entire safe was missing.
I also didn't realize that the guy with the like blonde hair
Mhm.
in like the first 2 episodes was Shifty Shell Shock,
Is that a
the
person?
Crazy Town Butterfly.
Oh, shit.
Really?
Really?
My starry-eyed surprise. I love that song so much.
That song's a good one.
So we had an introduction of a character. It was Freddie Heischinger, I think is his name.
Oh, yeah.
He's having quite the year. He was in the Fear Street movies. He was in White Lotus. He popped up in things. I think he's on the show.
Yeah.
It was a weird character. He's like a internet.
He was in The Woman in the Window. That was the other one.
He's like a porn
he's
webcam.
trying to do webcams because he was like, what if you could make porn money, but you didn't have to have sex with sweaty, disgusting men and you didn't have to have sex at all?
Mhm.
And Rand kind of came up to him and was like, he'll never make those 56K modems.
So he was, it felt deliberate. So he is in play.
Yeah.
I'm starting to think that Uncle Milton's no good.
Yeah, Rand is so trusting for being in such a seedy profession because he literally gets a call from Milton on his and he just is
on his
like,
answering machine.
I'm gonna go to
Hop on over to Amsterdam.
just to sort out some money stuff so the IRS doesn't get wind of it. And Rand is just like, smart. And I was like, he is stealing all of your money.
Well, probably where I went to was he's getting the hell out of town.
Well,
He
also,
escaped.
yes, he could easily steal all of the money, though.
Sure, but I was like, he's not going to be beaten or murdered and or
Yeah.
face legal. Like twice he's abandoned him.
Yeah.
I find Erica to be a very strange presence. I like her a lot.
Yeah, Taylor Schilling is so welcome in this because I like having...
We need warmth somewhere.
and we get a lot from Pamela, but
Sure.
I need another woman. And so like having this other woman character who's interacting with these men, but like sort of at an arm's length, because she is like doesn't want Rand really in her life.
But she doesn't not.
She doesn't hate him, but she's like, you keep coming around.
There's
What
this
do you
sort of
want?
like good for nothing quality that I feel like if he
Yeah.
got his life together, she would give him a second chance. We're very sort of one
Yeah.
Queer Eye episode away from
Sure.
them having
Where's the tan? Where's my tan accent? When you need it? We have to French tuck your shirt. Get rid of that mullet.
But I liked the weird character informing conversation they had about Anne Rice novels.
Yeah, like he got her hooked on Anne Rice novels, and they had a little debate about which was their favorite. And I was like,
It's very again, it's very deliberate. I'm curious what role it's going to play. I guess he was a porn star. That I feel like that term gets thrown around.
yeah,
But he was on the cover of more than one movie, and I guess Christian was right. That was the takeaway of that scene. It felt crass. And this show is
do you want an actual
nothing if not classy.
Do you want an actual porn-sized dick up your ass?
No,
I don't.
See that, but that's what I thought the takeaway was that guy was like comically big. I wasn't like, oh, well, clearly this means that.
I mean, maybe it's like average, but
Apparently not. They made a point to say
below
he's an anal
average.
specialist.
Yeah. a small pee-pee.
I loved the dude bootlegging the tape. I also love how stupid this entire endeavor is.
They're taking zero precautions.
Well, the whole
against
thing
anything.
is sort of incompetent around the board. Not to victim blame, but which they did have it in a safe. I'll give them that. But just sort of like you said, it took him months to realize it's just a comedy of errors all across the
weeks at the very least. But it seems like months.
And who are these fucking Teamsters watching A, porn at work, B, her.
Hardcore sex tape of your employer, essentially,
or co-worker. It's so infuriating, and this is a very us special, but it's so infuriating that nobody is giving her any respect when she is largely, she's not alone. There are several people, but this show is making money hand over fist on her image, on her name, because of her contributions to it. And she's not getting the respect she deserves for that. We've talked about it time and time again. We went at length about it in our Gone Girl episode, where we were like, people keep writing roles for women who need to take their tops off. Yeah. And then women take their tops off for these roles. And then we judge these women for doing what we ask them to do. And it's like, and I think that's largely where we are with this. Cause even I'm gonna throw you under the bus a little bit. You were talking off camera and you were like, when I was younger, the way culture was, the way my parents were and stuff, I was more judgmental about them and this. And I'd be like, well, they're trashy people and they deserve this. And you were like, it was very hard for me to unlearn that, to sort of.
Two things can be true. They can be trashy people and not deserve this. I still think they're trashy people.
They're both good at their jobs, I'll say. Like I said, she's a fine actress. And it's like, again, she's not places she doesn't belong.
No, of course. I'm not saying they're worth nothing, although I don't care for Motley Crue, but
it's to put some respect on.
Everybody deserves the dignity of their privacy, and to have that, and that is, you're correct, that is something that I came to in time, because I had a lot of internalized misogyny that was learned from my family and society and other kids at school, and you also just say things to, like, we also talked about this on the Britney Spears episode. So it's like, but you also just say things to, like, be in the same place as your peers. So nobody is like, well, you must be a slut too if you think it's okay.
Well, that's why a lot of times I'll ask people, like, when we're having discussions, I'll be like, do you actually mean that? Or are you just performing?
Are you just saying a thing?
Conversation? Because sometimes we just go into autopilot sometimes and say what we think is the thing that we're meant to say. Yeah. In that point. And so that's why when we talk about, loaded topics, loaded issues and stuff, I'll be like, well, let's actually unpack this a little bit. Like, let's dissect it. And again, that's where I love sort of the contrast with, like, the medical professionals, because we're getting, if this person goes to, like, in the Lady Gaga documentary, she goes to the doctor. Yeah. And the doctor is talking to a patient. The doctor's not talking to Lady Gaga,
of course, on
the eve of her album release. Right. You know what I mean? And I find that fascinating. I find the humanity of it and very, very interesting. Yeah. And I mean, I do feel weird saying this, but I'm actually very entertained.
I'm very entertained. Sebastian Stan and Lily James are absolutely killing this show. It's like amazing. And then, I mean, the thing too is, like, okay, so I don't have any nude photos. I don't have a sex tape. We've never done that. But again, like, the majority of this tape is not that. And I just, like, I have said some schmoopy things to my husband. I can't imagine having other people hear that in, like, the world.
Because that's why there's multiple things. It's like there is the sex, but there's the invasion of privacy. It doesn't matter what you're doing.
And the depth of intimacy that, like, people are witnessing that they have no right to. That man with the lotion and the tissues doesn't deserve that.
I started to mention earlier when I was like the guy selling the bootleg tapes. Which that whole thing was brilliant. I love how stupid this whole enterprise is. Like I said, because Rand is livid. He's and also seemingly and righteous in his
and also seemingly shocked that anyone would have figured out how to rip a videotape from a videotape.
I just loved the dude, whoever that day player was. Yeah, I loved the "fuck your mom, sir. Have a good day." That was just mwah. It was very good. That is the extent of my notes. Is there any other things that I feel like we should?
Well, it does appear that Pam miscarried the baby, which is just horrible.
Anything in and of itself, a thing that happens.
And it also has to be somewhat tied to the stress of this scenario too, which is just like, it's more and more, everything that happens to Pam and Tommy now is more and more proof that like this punishment doesn't fit the crime that was committed against Rand. You know, it's like, sue him for the money he owes you, you know?
Well, and as we've already said, it's like his vendetta is with Tommy Lee personally.
Yeah.
And
Pam
that's
is the
not
one.
what ends up happening.
Yeah, Pam is the one that's going to be punished the most.
And I'm curious to see the moment he
realizes.
understands that.
I don't know that he will.
I think he will.
Maybe.
I think he will. Because if anything, that could be the point of Erica.
Maybe. That could for sure be it. That would be
What is the point of a female character if she's not propping up a male character?
She's not there to help man learn. And then when they're driving home from the hospital, those were the moments where I just was like, if this is true to life, I think he was a mostly good husband to her in these moments. You know what I mean? I'm aware there's abuse and stuff later down the line. Up until now, it feels nice. And then they both go fucking apeshit on a paparazzi, which is awesome.
Glad that, I mean, it's not over and gone, but I'm glad that seems to be sort of on its way.
The paparazzi.
Yeah.
The following people, I think, has died down. For like following people in cars has died down a lot.
Well, and also we're just so much more, people just give it away now in ways that you had to take it in previous. Yeah, okay. Well, hopefully you enjoyed that conversation and check back next week where we'll do it all again.
Bye.